Now let's talk about the Linux editors or text editors that's installed on Linux operating systems. Those text editors are just for editing simple text files, like those configuration files of your system, like simple source code, like simple scripts, shell scripts, Python scripts, that kind of thing. It's different from the LibreOffice suite that allows you to edit and format the text and the content in many different ways. A text editor is just a very simple and a very straightforward way for you to edit text files from the command line. So we're going to talk about three different editors: Nano, VI, and Emacs. Uh, Nano is probably the simplest one to use. Let's look at what kind of text file we can use for demonstration purpose. Um, let's try Nano first, and then you can just type Nano in the command line, and then followed by the file name. Suppose we want to edit this particular very simple C++ file, and we can just follow Nano with a file name that you want to edit, and then just press return, and it's gonna bring you to this particular screen. So on the top of the Nano interface, it's showing you the version of the Nano. It's GNU, GNU Nano, the version of it, and the file that you are editing, the file name of the file that you are editing. And then at the bottom of the window, it's showing you some of the key combinations that you can use for opening files, for exit, for writing files, that kind of thing. This kind of hat, the pointed hat symbol is the control key actually. So this, for example, for the exit, it actually means you have to hold down the control key, CTRL key, and then type the letter X on the keyboard. So if I want to exit, now I have to hold down the control key and then type the letter X. Now I'm going back to my command line. So if you want to repeat the command, just use the upper arrow, and then it's gonna take you back to the window. And you can just add lines or add content to the text file by just write on type on your keyboard. So suppose I want to add a new line, say hello from C++, and then you can just type on the keyboard. Then it's gonna automatically sort of enter the text for you. And then if you want to delete a text file, some text, you can just use the delete key on your keyboard. That's gonna delete the text for you. And then you can just use the arrow key, up and down arrow key, to navigate. And or you can use the page up and page down key to flip one page at a time. So at any time, if you want to sort of get some help, if you have some stuck on something, then you can use the Control G key. So Control G is gonna get help. If you hold down the Control key and then type G, it's gonna take you to the help page. And then you can use the page up, page down key to look through the help page. Nano has quite a few key combinations, and the capability is quite good actually. It has lots of capabilities. So in spite of its very simplistic look, its capability is actually quite strong. So you can look through the help page and discover those capabilities by yourself. So when you try to exit the help page, you can just type exit, Control X to exit. Hold down the Control key X, then you are going back to the edit page. So if you want to exit the editing mode, you can just type Control X again. Now it's going to ask you if I want to save the modified buffer because I have made changes to the file. I can answer either yes or no. Answer yes by type Y, answer no by type N. Do I want to save the changes, or do I want? If I want to save the changes, I just type Y. And it's going to ask me, do I want to overwrite the original file? If I return, I can specify the name. For example, I can just change the file name. But if I don't want to change the name, I can just press return, and then it's gonna overwrite the original file. So basically, that's how you can actually use Nano to do some very simple editing. Now let's talk about the VI editor, VI, and there's also enhanced version called VIM. We're gonna stick with VI editor. VI editor is incredibly powerful, and it's universally installed on every Linux operating system, and so many people actually use it for daily text editing tasks. So, but the VI editor takes some practice to get used to. One of the nice things about the VI editor is that it has a tutorial. It's called VIM tutor. And if you don't have VIM tutor installed on your system, you can do sudo apt get install VIM runtime. It's called a VIM runtime, and then uh, it's gonna it's gonna install the VIM tutor for you. So VIM runtime is already the newest version on my machine, so it's not actually doing anything. But once you have VIM tutor installed, you can just run VIM tutor, and then it's gonna take you to this particular lesson, and this particular text that you're actually looking at is actually opened inside of the VI editor. So so you can just go through it. So for example, it's actually telling you how to move the cursor. So the H key, J key, L key. For example, H, J, K, L allows you to go backward and forward, up and down. So one line at a time, back up and down, and back and forth one letter at a time, or one character at a time. So if you type H, L is gonna move forward, K is gonna allow you to move up, J is gonna allow you to move down. How do you actually move the cursor around? Or you can just use the arrow key. So one thing about the VR editor is that it has two modes. So every time, suppose if I want to if I want to exit as a VIM tutor, to go through the complete tutorial, it's gonna take about a half an hour. So it's actually telling you the approximate time required to complete the tutor is about 25 to 30 minutes, about a half an hour to go through the tutorial. But it's actually quite complete and covers most of the commands that you're going to use in everyday tasks. So let's just exit this tutorial. I'm going to type semicolon and then Q. So let's use something that's quite that's simpler. That's simpler. Let's just edit the C++ code that I was generating before. If you want to open a file, just type vi and then followed by the file name, and then just type return, and then it's gonna open. It's gonna open the editor. So what I was telling you is that the VI editor has two modes. One is called the viewing mode or normal mode. That's sort of the default mode when you first open a file. And then there is an editing mode. The editing mode is invoked by typing the letter I or the letter A inside of the viewing mode actually. So if I want to insert something, I type the letter I, and you can sort of see in the bottom, it's actually showing me I have switched to the insert mode. And at this point, everything that I type on the keyboard is gonna become text or become content in the text file that I'm editing. So if I type some random characters, it's gonna display as a content inside of the text file that I'm editing. If you want to go back to the viewing mode, all you have to do is to type the escape key. Just type the escape key once, and then you're going back to the viewing mode. So at the viewing mode, the letters you're gonna type is gonna become commands. So here I'm actually typing H, so I'm going backwards on the same line, and then K actually going backwards, going up, and then J allows me to move down one line at a time, and then L allows me. So in the different modes, the different letters on the keyboard actually has different meanings. So in the viewing mode, the different letters on the keyboard actually is some kind of commands that allow you to execute. And but in the insert or append mode, you're gonna have suppose we looked at the insert mode, but we haven't looked at the append mode. Now I have moved my cursor to the end of the first line, And if I keep pressing L, L is sort of allows you to move forward on the same line. So if I keep pressing L, it's not gonna move anymore. So if I want to append content or text after the current cursor location, I can just type the A key in the viewing mode. Type the A key, and then the cursor is automatically moved beyond one character beyond the last character. And now I can, and the bottom is actually showing you are in the insert mode, and I can type whatever text I want to append to it. So if you want to go back to the viewing mode or command mode, you can just type escape key again, and now you are going back to the viewing mode. So the J key allows you to move down one line at a time. K key allows you to go up one line at a time. And then if you want to go to the beginning of the first line, beginning of the line, you can use the 0 key in the viewing mode. You can use the 0 key. It's gonna give you, take you to the beginning of a line. And then if you want to delete text, in the viewing mode, you type the letter X. Then you type the letter X once, you're gonna delete one letter under the cursor. And if you want to delete one more, type X again. And then it's just if you keep typing X, it's just gonna keep deleting the text that's under the cursor. But you have to do this all in the viewing mode. You cannot sort of in the insert mode. If you are in the insert mode, you are just inserting X, the letter X, into the line. So if you want to sort of move your cursor, for example, if you want to delete from the cursor to the end of the line, then you can use a delete command. The delete command is invoked by typing the letter D. On the keyboard. After you type the letter D, it's not going to display anything. But in the viewing mode, if you type the letter D, it's not going to insert the letter D, but it's going to invoke the delete command. If you want to delete until the end of the file, end of the line, and then you follow the D key with the dollar sign, hold down the Shift key and then the number 4, it's space dollar sign. Then it's going to delete until from the cursor location until the end of the line. Now you are still in the viewing mode, so you can move around. So if you would like to delete one line, for example, if you would like to delete a whole line, including the beginning of the line and the end of the line, and then you can use the command dd. So if you just in the viewing mode type the letter D twice, then it's going to delete the whole line. Type dd, it's going to delete the whole line. And if you would like to sort of if you would like to quit without saving the file, then you type the colon. And then quit Q, because you have already made changes to the file. So if you type Q and then enter now, it's going to ask you if you want to save the file. If you want to force it to not save the file and quit, and then you type Q and then exclamation mark, then it's gonna quit, and you go back to the terminal. And if you look at the content, it's not changed. It's still the old content. You didn't change anything. So if you would like to save it, if you would like to save the changes, for example, if I'm gonna delete the whole line here, if I want to save the changes, you say WQ. W means write, and Q means exit. Now if you look at the content, it has changed. And if you would like to save it in a different file name, for example, again colon, in the viewing mode type colon, and then W followed by the file name. Say cr test1.cpp, that's the file name. Return, and then it's going to write a new file. And the file that you are editing, you are viewing right now, has been switched to the file that you just written. So if you want to quit. If you haven't made any changes, you can just type :Q. It's gonna quit. So that's some of the commands that you can use to edit the files. And inside of the editor, you can also search. Inside of the editor, you can search. The way for doing the search is to, in the viewing mode, type the / key, and then followed by the word that you are looking for. Suppose I'm looking for ENDL, this kind of search pattern, and then type the search pattern and then press enter. Then the cursor is going to move to the first occurrence of this search pattern. And if you want to move to the next search occurrence of the search pattern, you can just type little case n in the viewing mode. Then the cursor is gonna move to the next occurrence of the search pattern. If you press n again, it's telling you search hit bottom, continue at the top. It's gonna go back to the top. If you would like to go to the previous occurrence, you can hold down the shift key and then press n. Then it's gonna go backwards. It's going to go backwards to the previous occurrence. Hold down the shift key and then press N. Then it's going to move to the previous occurrence of the search pattern. So if you would like to search backwards, you can use the question mark and then followed by the search pattern. Then the cursor is going to move to the first occurrence from the end of the file of the search pattern. And then if you want to move to the next search pattern backwards in the file, you can type N. Then it's going to move backwards. If you use Shift N, it's going to move to the previous occurrence, but this time it's the previous occurrence from the end of the file. So you can search a file either from the start or from the end. So that's for you to actually search files. Of course, you can also go back to the shell without leaving the editor. So if you want to sort of go back to the shell, run some shell commands, you can use the colon, type the colon in the viewing mode, and then followed by the exclamation mark, and then followed by the command that you want to execute. Suppose you want to execute an ls, for example. You can just type ls. Then it's just going to go back to the shell and list all the content of the file. So that's sort of the output of the ls command. And then if you want to go back, you just type enter. So if you would like to quit, I'm going to quit now. Now let's look at the Emacs editor. So if you would like to try Emacs, you can just type the Emacs and then follow for example, if you would like to open a file when you open the editor, you can follow it by a file name. In this case, if you are running it on a Windows system, so like the Ubuntu desktop or Unity environment, it's gonna open a new window for you. It's gonna open a new text window that looks like this. Sometimes you would prefer to use a separate window to edit text files, but sometimes you may want to just keep the editing window inside of the terminal. So if that's the case, if you would like to keep it in the edit text window, in the terminal window, you can use the -NW option. So -NW means no window. You don't want to open a new window. If you use the -NW option, it's going to open the file just inside your terminal. The Emacs editor is also a very powerful editor, and some people actually compare the Emacs editor with the operating system. In fact, you can almost do everything inside of the Emacs editor, and it's also universally available. It's available on all Unix and Linux operating systems, and it's also available on Mac OS X. So in your case, if the Emacs is not automatically installed in your Linux distribution, for example in Ubuntu, you can do sudo apt-get install and then Emacs, and then it's just gonna sort of try to download the Emacs and install it on your system. So for my case, it's already installed there, so it's already the newest version, so there's no reason for reinstall it. Once you have it installed, you can just use it to edit your text file. I'm using the -nw option, but in practice I often open a new window to do my editing. The reason I'm using a no window option here is for recording purposes. It makes it easier to record the text, my windows in a screencast. So you can open a file by just following the file name with the Emacs, and then you can open a file inside of the Emacs window. You can open new files by holding down the Control key and then XF. Hold down the Control key and then type XF. So hold down the Control key without releasing it, and then type XF. Type X first and then F next, and then it's gonna display a line here. It's telling you what kind of file you want to open. Find file, what file you want to open. If you for the default path is the current path, which is wiggle temp, but you don't have to. You don't have to open anything under the default path. You can open it, for example, under my home directory, a new path. Suppose I want to edit a bash script. You can type it, and then it's gonna open this this file for you. If you would like to go back to the previous file that I have just opened, the C++ code, you can hold down the Control X and then release the Control key and then B. So switch to buffer, the previous buffer. If I press enter, it's gonna switch back. So it's lots of different key combinations. If you want to go back to the previous key, to the shell script, hold down the Control key, type X, and then release the Control key. You can sort of see C-X in the bottom. It's telling you it's a Control X, and then you type B. So you can sort of switch to different files by doing this Control X and then B. So that's how you actually open files. Inside of the text file, you can use the arrow key to navigate, or you can use the Control key. Hold down the Control key, press F. It's going to allow you to move forward. And again, hold down the Control key and then press B without releasing the Control key. It's going to allow you to go backward. And then if you hold down the Control key and press N, it's going to move down one line at a time. And if you hold down the Control key and use P, it's going to go up one line at a time. And of course you can use the suppose I have a very long file. Let me switch back to the shell script. Suppose you have a very long file, and you can page up and page down by using the page up and page down key. Or there's different way for hold down the Control key and then type V. If you would like to go upwards one page at a time, in addition to using a page up, an alternative is to press the ESC key first. As soon as you actually press the escape key, press it and release it, it's going to display escape in the bottom. And then type the letter V. And then it's going to allow you to go back one page at a time until the beginning of the file. If you would like to go to the beginning of the file from anywhere inside of the file, you can type the ESC key once, escape key once, and in the bottom it's going to display ESC key. And then hold down the shift key, and then use a smaller than sign, which is a shift, basically the comma, and then it's giving a basically smaller than sign, and then it's gonna move you to the start of the text file. And if you would like to go to the end of the file, press the ESC key, escape key once, and then hold down the shift key and use the larger than sign, which is basically the dot, and then it's going to take you back to the start of the to the end of the file. So some of the ways for you to actually navigate through the, suppose you want to go to the end of the file, end of a line, you hold down the control key and then press the letter E, and then you go to the end of the line. If you would like to go to the beginning of a line, hold down the control key and then press A. It allows you to go to the beginning of a line. And those are some of the key combinations that allows you to navigate inside of your text file. And if you would like to delete characters, if you would like to delete some characters, suppose I'm gonna go back to my, to insert characters, you just move your cursor anywhere you want to put your cursor, and then just start typing. So you can type whatever text you want to sort of put in there. If you want to move to the beginning of the, if you want to delete a letter under the cursor, you can just use the Control D, hold down the Control key and then press the letter D, and then it's gonna delete a letter at a time. Of course, you can also use the backspace. Then it's gonna delete the letter before the cursor, one at a time. And if you would like to delete a complete line, a whole line, you can hold down the Control key and then press the letter K. Let me move to the beginning of the line first, and then hold down the Control key and press the letter K. Then it's gonna delete the entire line from the location of the cursor to the end of the line, actually. So it's not exactly the same as the entire line. So if I sort of move my cursor to the middle of the line and then do Control K, then it's gonna delete everything starting from the cursor until the end of the line. If you would like to save a file, suppose you have done your editing, you have already finished editing your file, you want to save it, you have to hold down the Control key and then type letter X, and then don't release the Control key, still hold down the Control key, and then the letter S, save. Then it's gonna write the edited file to the original file name that you used to open the file. So Control XS, hold down the Control key, type letter X and S. It's gonna allow you to save it to the original file. If you want to save it to a different file name, you can use the Control X and then W. Still hold down the Control key and then use W, and then it's gonna allow you to write to a different file name. Then it's gonna I'm gonna write it to a different file name. Oh, it's telling me that this particular file name already being used. Do I want to overwrite the content of it? If I answer yes, it's going to overwrite the content of the original CLI test. And as soon as I have typed in the new file name, the editor window is going to switch to this new file. So in the bottom, it's actually telling you I'm actually looking at and editing this new file that I have just created, CLI test1.cpp. And so that's how you can actually sort of save files and write files. So you can search either forward or backward by using the Control S and Control R key. So hold down the Control S and then type the search pattern, whatever search pattern you are trying to search. ENDL, the default is ENDL because I typed this ENDL before. And if you are done searching, then you can just move your cursor around. It's done searching. And then Control R allows you to search from the end of the file. I'm still searching ENDL. So when your cursor is at a certain occurrence of the search pattern, other occurrences in the text window, in the text file, are going to be highlighted. So if you want to jump to the next one, Control R from the back of the file, Control R again. You're gonna jump to the next occurrence. If you want to jump forward, Control S. Control S allows you to jump forward to the next occurrence. Control R, S. So Control R and Control S allows you to search for a certain text pattern in your file. And the Emacs also has a quite good tutorial. It also has a very good tutorial actually. And you can actually open the tutorial inside of the Emacs by using the Control H, hold down the Control key, and then type the letter H, and then type the letter T. That's going to take you to the Emacs tutorial. So if you want to go back to the text that you were just editing, Control X, and then type letter B. So if I hold down the Control key and type letter X, and then if I want to go back to the tutorial, just release the Control key and type letter B. It's telling me switch to buffer default tutorial, and then you can read through the entire tutorial. If I want to kill a buffer, so if I want to close my view to a certain text, not the text file itself, but the view of it inside of the Emacs, I can use Control X, hold down the Control key, type letter X, K, type the letter K. It's asking you if I want to kill the buffer. The default is tutorial. That's my current buffer. Save your position in the tutorial. Do I want to save my position? I don't want to save it. It's Control H. Hold down the Control key and then the letter H, and then type the letter T. Release the Control key. Type the letter T, and then it's going to take you to the tutorial. And you can navigate through the tutorial by using you can flip through one page at a time by using Control V. So this tutorial is basically a text file that's opened inside of the Emacs, and it's and as you navigate through the file, it's actually telling you what's actually the line number in the bottom here, and then what's actually the percentage of the entire file. You have flipped through like 61% of the entire file. And then if you want to go to the end of the file, press the ESC key first, and then hold down the Shift key, and then use the period or the larger than sign to go to the end of the tutorial. If you're done reading it, Control X, release the control, and then type the letter K. Type the letter K. It's gonna delete the buffer, delete the current view to the tutorial. Do I want to save it? No, I don't want to save the position. Then it's gonna go back to the mode that you're actually viewing. And the Emacs is sort of a very powerful editor also. And it also allows you to access the shell from within the editor. So if you would like to access the shell from within the editor, you can press the escape key once and release it, and then just type the letter X. So the bottom, it's actually showing you M-X, and then at this point you can type the word shell, and now it's actually taking you to a shell. So you are actually being placed in a shell. You can do whatever command that you are sort of trying to do, sort of cr test.cpp or something, right? And if you are done with your shell, you can kill the shell buffer by using Control X and then K. It's asking me there's still running process. Let me just kill it. So access the shell by using Emacs. You access Emacs by pressing the escape key once and then type the letter X. You access the Emacs and then type the letter shell, or type the word shell. It takes you back to the shell. If you want to kill it, Control key. So it also allows you to access the shell. If you would like to exit the Emacs, if you are done editing your text file, you can do Control XC, hold down the Control key, don't release it, and then type the letter X and C. and then it's gonna go back to the terminal that you started the Emacs with. So if you want to exit the Emacs, hold down the control key, don't release it, and then type the letter both X first and then C. Now you exit the Emacs environment. So those editors allow you to edit some files, some text files with manageable length. Suppose you have a very large file with many lines. Uh, it, 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 it soon becomes very unpractical to actually edit those very long text files by hand using an editor. And the Linux actually provides you several tools that allows you to process those text in a streaming fashion. So you have two commands that are most common. One is the SED command. SED stands for Stream Editor. So it allows you to modify or change the text file uh, according to a certain pattern uh, in a batch mode. So by running this command in the terminal, you can just make those batch changes to the entire text file in like one command. SED command. And there's another command called AWK. AWK is a way for you to is another way of transforming the text. It allows you to manipulate the file in a batch mode also, and it's most often to use it for files that are separated by columns or separated using delimiters, such as those comma separated value files like CSV files generated by spreadsheets, that kind of thing. So let's look at some example. Let me do a long listing of the files that's under my current directory. That's home directory temp. So I've got a quite large file. It's not very large, but it's quite large. It's a job.lst, and the size of it is like 1.5 megabytes. So if I want to take a look at the head, if I do a cat job.lst, it's not going to work because the content is just too large to fit in like one screen. It's going to scroll off the screen really quickly. I won't be able to read the content. And if you want to take a look at the head, it's basically listings, the long listing of many files, many files. If you do a tail job AST, it's also some it's the information, long listing information of lots of files. And if you want to take a look at how many lines this file actually has, you can just do a wc-l. It's gonna give you the line count. So I've got about 24,000 lines in this particular file. So if you would like to edit this particular file, suppose you want to do vi job.lst or do Emacs no window job.lst, it's completely fine. You can edit this file in a text editor also. It's not a problem, but it's just too long. It's way too long to edit the file by hand. So SED allows you to change the file in a specific way, in a stream mode. So you don't really have to sort of edit by hand. Suppose we would like to change the word jobs, jobs, into the word job. Just remove the s behind the jobs for every line inside of this job list file, job.lst file. We can do SED followed by -e. -e is an option that allows you to follow commands behind it. So the command that we're going to use are going to be inside of this two single quotation sign. So what I'm going to do is to do a substitution. So I'm going to do a substitution. So a command for substitution is called s, and then I'll need to use a delimiter. And in SED the delimiter is a slash, and then followed by the pattern that I'm looking for. I'm gonna type the pattern that I'm looking for. It's jobs. I'm gonna look for jobs, and then I'm gonna substitute it. S for substitution, right? So I'm gonna substitute jobs with job. So So that's part of the command. That's part of the command. We are almost done, but we still need to add one more delimiter. We're gonna tell the sed command the range of the substitution. If you wanna if you wanna substitute this make this substitution for the entire file, and then you have to add the letter G. G means global. So you're going to do this substitution of jobs to job globally throughout the entire file. So that's going to be the command sequence. So sed is going to execute this particular command on what file? On our file, that's job.lst, this particular file. So by default, the sed is going to use the standard output. It's going to print out the modified text on the screen. But that's not exactly what we wanted. We wanted to go into another file. Let's say job.lst1. Job.lst1. So we use a redirection to redirect the output from the standard output, which is the terminal, the screen, to the file that's called job.lst1. The file doesn't exist yet, but it's gonna this redirection symbol are gonna generate it. So now if we look at job.lst1, you can sort of see the word jobs has been changed to job, and this change is global. So both the head and tail, you can sort of tell that the change has happened. And sed has lots of commands. It's not just the substitution. You can also do lots of things. And if you want to take a look at the entire list of all the commands or all the sed commands that's available, you can just do man sed, and then it's going to tell you how to actually so -e means a script, so it's going to follow a short script. You're gonna write a short script that's in the single quotation, between the single quotation sign, and then sed is going to execute that script. So here is a command synopsis. It's telling you the different kind of commands. So A for append text, I for insert text, this kind of thing. So basically that's how you can actually use the sed to help you to transform a very large text file in specific ways. That's just one example of it. And now let's look at the AWK. Now AWK allows you to separate a certain file according to the delimiters. So if you look at the job.lst1, this particular file, it's got how many columns? It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's got 9 columns separated by space. So the default behavior of AWK is that it's going to separate all the different columns by space, but of course you can also specify what the delimiter actually is. So if you want to specify the delimiter, you use -F and then followed by the delimiter in a single between a single quotation. Suppose your delimiter is a comma, for example, then you follow -F with the comma between the two single quotation signs, right? But in our case, it's just a space. We're gonna use the space as our delimiter, and then what we can do is to use another single quotation sign for the script that we want to execute. So we want to print what? Suppose we want to print the first column, suppose just the attribute column, and then if we want to do that, we can just use the $sign followed by 1. So this thing actually means the first column of the separated file, the delimiter separated file. So if I pass the job.lst1 file as the input to it, this time I'm gonna have to do because the file is very long. If I want to look at the content, it's gonna scroll off the screen, so I'm piping it through more. So you guys can see it's actually the first column. It just contains the the attributes. If I want to exit the more, I just type the letter Q on the keyboard. So the same is true if you want to also list, for example, the last column, which is the eighth column, for example, right? And then it's gonna list the time, the eighth column. Right. So you can pick the column that you want by using the dollar sign followed by the column number. Suppose we would like to um, to add some sort of text to it. So suppose I want to sort of use the ninth column. I'll add some text to it. So the text that you're gonna add to the printout is gonna be inside of this double quotation sign, this pair of double quotation signs. So I'm gonna say file followed by the file name, and then I'm gonna say was last modified at, and then followed by the eighth column. And then it's gonna print out this kind of text file. This particular file was last modified at, give the time. And of course you can also sort of redirect the output of AWK to another file. For example, let's say job lst2, and then the job lst2 is going to contain the transformed text, and the AWK command is actually quite powerful. Now suppose I would like to add up the size of each of the file and obtain the accumulated size of all the files that's inside of this job lst1 file. How am I going to do that? I can still use the AWK command. The separator is a space, and then what I'm going to do is to give it another script. So I'm going to do s plus equals to, because the size of the file is on the fifth column, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, fifth column. So I'm going to use the fifth column, and then end, and then print s, and followed by the file name job lst1. So in this particular command, I'm specifying the space as a delimiter, and then I'm executing this particular script on the text. So what this actually means is that I'm going to take the fifth column. The fifth column is actually the size of the file. S plus equals 2 is actually a shorthand for representing S equals to S plus the fifth column. So AWK is going to run this script for every line at a time. And for every line, it's going to extract the fifth column, which is the size of the file. And then it's going to add it to S. This particular S, you can think of it as a variable. And it starts with a value of 0. So if you have a file, for the first file, it has a size of 430, right? So 0 plus 430 is going to be 430. So now S, because it's assigned back to S, so S now has a new value that's 430. And then for the next line, it's still going to extract the fifth column, that's 430. And then it's going to add it to the S. Now the S has a value of 430, so it's 430 plus 430. It's 860. And then it's going to assign 860 back to S again. So this command just allows you to accumulate the size of all the files inside of the variable S. And then after you have finished, you print out the S. And then this way it's going to... Oh, sorry, I gave you the wrong file name. And this way it's going to give you the accumulated size for all the files that's inside of this text file. And you can sort of... so if I do a long listing of my current directory, because it's sort of alias, the AOS is alias, so it's giving the size in a human readable format. If I do this, it's gonna give me give it in the raw bytes. So so if I pipe it through this particular command, so I'm gonna use the output of the ls-l, this long listing. It's still the fifth column, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The fifth column. And then it's just gonna print out the accumulated size for all the files that's in my current directory. About 4 megabytes or something. So that's another example of using AWK. So you can use AWK to extract a certain column inside of your text file, separated by delimiters. The default delimiter is like a space. If it's a space, you don't really have to use the -f. If your space is a delimiter, then you don't really have to use the -f option. But if it's not, you can use the -f to specify your separator, your delimiter, right? And then you follow it with some kind of script. In this case, you can use the $sign to represent a certain column in your text file after you have separated them into columns, right? And you can recombine the different columns in different ways by adding your own text, that kind of thing. And then you can do the text transformation, or you can do some kind of mathematical calculations on the extracted columns and get the result you want. So SED and AWK, two very powerful commands, allow you to transform the text in a batched mode in a very quick way. If you have multiple delimiters in a single file, what you can do is to use the square bracket to separate those multiple delimiters, to include those amount. Suppose you are using a semicolon together with, for example, dash to separate the different columns in a single file. Then you can do this, follow -f, and then single quote. Inside of single quote, you do a square bracket and then separate all the different delimiters using a comma. Sometimes you would like to combine all the different files in a directory into a single file and then compress that file and obtain a compressed single file. So suppose I have a bunch of files that's in my current directory as temp. I want to sort of combine all those files into like a single file and then compress it. So Linux actually provides several tools for you to compress and decompress. So one of the most useful commands is called tar. So tar allows you to combine lots of files together into a single file and also compress it in just one command. So if you would like to create a compressed file, you use an option C. For the tar command, you can either use dash or not use dash. Both of them are fine actually. C means create. I'm gonna create a compressed file. So C means create, and then I'm gonna compress it. So the letter Z, the option Z, means that I'm gonna compress it using gzip. So gzip is a GNU tool for you to actually compress and expand files and directories. So Z means I'm gonna use gzip to do the compress, and then I'm gonna add another option that's called F. F allows me to specify a file name. Suppose a file name for the compressed file. Suppose I'm gonna call it temp tgz. The suffix tgz actually means T means tar, comes from tar. G means it's from the gzip, because the tar is gonna automatically invoke the gzip to compress the files, and Z just means it's a compressed file. So and then followed by star. Star means everything that's under my current directory. Now I have obtained a new file. That's this particular file. That's temp.tgz. If you would like to take a look at the content without expanding this compressed file, what you can do is to do tar, but change the C to T, to letter T. T means that you want to look at a list of the compressed file. So tzf and then followed by the zipped file that you just created. Then it's going to tell you the content, the file names of the stuff that's inside of this particular table. Sometimes people call this a compressed single file, call it a table. Table. They just call it a table. It means that you are compressing everything into like a one file and then compress it, and you can call it a table or something. If you want to uncompress it, you want to expand it. If you want to expand it into a different directory, for example, suppose I make another directory so called temp1, for example. I'm gonna make it in my parent directory, and then I'm gonna move temp.tgz to temp1, and then I'm gonna go to temp1. I'm showing you another key combination that allows, it's a shortcut. So exclamation followed by the dollar sign. It represents the last directory that you have used. You have used in a previous command. So it's a dot temp1. My parent directory temp1 is like the last directory that I have used. So I'm gonna do this cd and then followed by this shortcut. Now I'm switching to temp1. Now I have my table. If I want to extract it, I use tar and then x. X means extract. xzf. I'm gonna extract the xzf. I'm gonna temp.tgz and then followed by the file name. Now it's actually displaying all the files that was containing this particular table, and the table itself is still there. If you want to remove it, you can just delete it, because you already have all the files now. You don't really have to. I'm gonna so if you want to sort of have more, if you wanted the tar command to give you more information during the process, you can use the v option. V is going to display some intermediate information during the compression, during the tar and compression operation. So the tar command becomes more verbose, allows you to see more information during the compression process, to see the progress of the if you have lots of files that you want to tar up, it's going to give you some information about the progress of all the operations. And this is actually for tar and compress a bunch of files. You can apply that kind of operation to a directory also. Suppose I want to tar up the temp directory on my home directory. So I can do tar, again czf temp.tar tgz, and then followed by the directory name. Now I'm getting a file, and if I do a listing of the content, I can do tzf. It's telling me that it's a temp error log, temp, everything is under temp, so it's actually giving me the path to all the files on the temp. So it's actually giving me the path name also. So if I want to sort of expand it, if I want to extract the content of temp.tgz, suppose I make a directory called temp1, and then I'm gonna move my temp.tgz to temp1. Now if I extracted xzf, xvzf, or verbose, later verbose, temp.tgz, then it's expanding it. It's extracting every file, but it's going to extract it into a subdirectory called temp. So it's actually preserving the directory structure of all the files, and all the stuff that's being extracted goes into temp. If you go into temp, you're going to see all the files, and the directory for storing all the files now becomes temp1 temp. So that's how you can actually compress and extract files on the Linux operating system. the command line actually has several shortcuts that are quite useful and can improve your efficiency sometimes. Um, so so suppose you have suppose you have to repeat some of the commands that you run previously. There are some shortcuts to it. Suppose you are trying to do a software update, so for example apt-get update or something, but you forgot to run it in the administrator mode, so it's actually telling you you don't really have permissions, that kind of thing. So what you can do is to sudo and then followed by exclamation exclamation. So exclamation exclamation, this double exclamation actually means represents the previous command you just run. So if you proceed a sudo with if you proceed the double exclamation with sudo, then it's gonna run apt-get update with sudo prefixed. Then it's gonna give you the administrator privilege and allows you to uh, run this particular command. So that's one of the shortcuts that might be useful. If you would like to repeat a previous command, but you don't exactly know what the command is, but maybe you remember some of the keywords in that particular command, you can do a backward search, Control R, hold down the Control key and then type R. Suppose I'm looking for a particular command that contains the sort. So as soon as you start typing, it's gonna display reverse I search sort. So it's gonna display some of the commands that I have typed. Uh, I have included the sort. Right, that's one of the commands that I have used before. And if it's not the one that you are looking for, you can keep pressing Control R. Keep pressing Control R. So until it finds the command that you are looking for, and then you can just type Enter, and it's gonna sort of run this previous command that I have used before. Um, so if you want to run a previous command, starts with some kind of some letters, some specified letters. So you can use the exclamation followed by those letters that you have. Suppose I want to repeat a previous command starts with tar, tar. I can just exclamation mark and then followed by those letters that I can use to be. Okay, so my previous command that starts with tar is actually an unzip extract command from a tarball, but I cannot find it as tarball, so it's giving me some kind of error. So the command it's actually executing is repeated here, right? You can invoke those previous command that starts with specific a specified set of letters using the exclamation. And if you wanna sort of uh, if you wanna sort of run a previous command that you just run, but with a different first word, for example, then what you can do is to use the exclamation star. So the previous command I just ran was a tar, so it doesn't work. So I'm gonna do an ls. Suppose I want to look at cer test.cpp. And then suppose I want to sort of repeat the previous command with a different command. Repeat with the same argument but a different command actually. So suppose I want to edit that file. I can do nano and then exclamation star. Then it's gonna open the nano editor and with with the file that I used as an argument in the previous command. And there's also another way of doing that. Suppose I want to use the argument from the previous command, I can also do this exclamation followed by the dollar sign. It's also going to work. And if you want to sort of look for a particular command that you have previously used before, you can always invoke the history command. The history command is going to list all the commands that I have typed in this particular terminal uh, with a certain limit. For example, if you have set your limit for history to be like 1000, it's going to list all the 1000 commands you have typed so far. So to make it readable, you can just pipe it in through less or more. Then it's going to list all the files you have typed so far, and use the space to navigate through it. And if you, I'm going to pipe it through tail. Suppose you found it. Suppose you have found the command that you were sort of looking for. Suppose you want the number 965 command. What you can do is to just, for this particular command, it's just a very short command. Let's try 966. So if you want to repeat the 966 command, you can just use the exclamation mark followed by the number that's inside your history. And then it's going to repeat that particular command. So if you would like to sort of go back more, for example, if you go give like 20, display the last 20 commands that they have used before, right? Or 30, and try to find what's actually the what's the command you want.